Good morning, students. Let's continue our class on Christopher Marlowe's play, The Tragical History of the Life and Death of Dr. Faustus. So let us just recap what we did in the last class. So in the last class, we looked at a kind of a sort of a background for Dr. Faustus, right? We looked at Christopher Marlowe's life and works. We also saw how he was a part of the group of playwrights, 16th century playwrights called University Wits, and how he wrote a few plays like Edward II, The Jew of Malta, on Dr. Faustus, Dido, and all these plays we saw how he has written all these plays, and we also briefly looked at the kind of mysterious life he led, and the kind of allegations that were levied against him, and the kind of mysterious very early death he had at the age of 29, right? So, and also we looked at how he was influenced by the spirit of the age, that is the Renaissance age, right? Then we went into detail on the Renaissance period. So what is the Renaissance period? How it was kind of perceived to be a break from the previous, the earlier Dark Ages, what was called as the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, and then how the Renaissance period was perceived as some kind of rebirth, So the rebirth was in terms of art, economy, politics, geographical explorations, science, literature, and all these things. So a lot of scholars came up, thought through, and questioned, discussed a lot of new things, and so it was called as kind of an age of rebirth. Right? That is the Renaissance period. And we also saw how it sprang from Italy and then spreading to other parts of Europe, also having a great influence in England, and then also having great influence on English theatre, right? And so we also saw how, when we talk about English theatre, the Elizabethan period, corresponding with the reign, with the rule of Queen Elizabeth I, is important in looking at theatre, the genre of theatre, and how very important playwrights like Shakespeare, Ben Jonson, Christopher Marlowe, all these playwrights wrote in the fertile period of English Renaissance, right? So, and what is this Renaissance spirit that we talked about? We also discussed, because it is also important for us in terms of the text we are dealing with, right? We are dealing with Christopher Marlowe's account of a person called Dr. Faustus, and we know Marlowe was interested in understanding the kind of transgressive quest in man. How man wanted to break away from the shackles, from the traditional shackles of religion and conventional knowledge, and how the urge to explore new frontiers, new knowledge, all these things enticed, attracted the people of that time. And the same is reflected in his artistic works, like to give the best example is the tragical history of the life and death of Dr. Faustus, right? You cannot look at Dr. Faustus from a clear perspective, from the clear picture of good and bad, because Dr. Faustus is somewhere in between and Marlowe is somewhere in between. And so Marlowe is trying to show us, the kind of dichotomy that people had of that at that period, something what is called as the Renaissance man. We discussed in the last class, something called as Renaissance man, who actually was caught in between two kinds of worlds of the traditional strictures and traditional knowledge, and then a longing for something that is new, something that is there and unexplored. So this is kind of the background, and I gave you a recap of what we did in the last class. So at this backdrop, today what we are going to do is we're going to look at briefly the story of Dr. Faustus. to simply put it, the plot of Dr. Faustus, so that you get curious about what's happening and you also get curious about how Marlowe would have dealt with it in his artistic language, right? Plot is easy to know, but then how a writer infuses life into it through his language, through his thought process, is what we are interested as students of literature. Right? And you will absolutely enjoy the beautiful lines Marlowe crafts into the mouths of the characters of the play. Right? So we're going to do two things today. We are going to actually briefly look at the plot of Dr. Faustus, and then we are going to look a small background into something called morality plays that actually had a big influence on Marlowe's play, in particularly for us today, Dr. Faustus. Right? So let's go and let's see what is the story of what is the plot line of the play. So let's see, as you can guess, the title itself, the elaborate title, the full title itself gives you a clear picture that it's a tragical history. So obviously it is somebody's history, it's a biography, and then it is tragic. So that means there is something that is not good at the end. Tragical history of the life and death of Dr. Faustus. So you know whose life it is. It is Dr. Faustus. So who is this Dr. Faustus? Right? That is the main question. So Dr. Faustus is supposed to be a real life character in Germany, living somewhere in the 16th century, right? He was supposed to be a person, he was perceived, I mean, he was remembered as a person who he was a respected scholar, but he wanted something more in life. He was not satisfied with the knowledge that was available to him. So he grew dissatisfied with the limits of the traditional forms of knowledge, and he wanted to explore more, right? So this Dr. Faustus, like I told you, lived in early 16th century in Germany. And by the time our Marlowe wrote his play, that is almost like 80-90 years. I mean, at the end of 16th century, that is 1588-89, when we assume he wrote this play, a small book called Faustbuch was available in Germany, narrating the life of Dr. Faustus. So that is what is supposed to be the source for Dr. Faustus of Christopher Marlowe. So it's supposed to be some kind of modeled after a real life character called Dr. Faust or Dr. Faust or Dr. Faustus. Marlowe gives it a beautiful poetic expression, a prosaic poetic expression in his play, The Tragical History of the Life and Death of Dr. Faustus. Right? So like I told you, it's a well-known legend in Germany where it is believed that Faust entered into a bargain with the devil. I mean, devil for us is represented through devil's servant called Mephistophilis. So is a major character in our play. So Mephistophilis, so Faust's bargain with Mephistophilis is the focal subject of this play. So Faust is a scholar in Germany, and he was given to, it is believed, some kind of intellectual arrogance, which eventually led towards his pathetic fall. That is what is believed. So Faustus was, I am using a textual quote, I'm using something that is used in the text, swollen with cunning of a self-conceit. He was swollen, he was plumpy with the cunning of a self-conceit. And this is quoted by the chorus, right? You know, we will come to chorus. What is the role of chorus later? The chorus usually is omnipresent. He knows what is happening in the play and can have a say and can have an opinion on the characters and action of the play. So that is the chorus. So chorus is saying that Faustus is swollen with cunningness and he has self-conceit, right? So what happens for him? All the branches of knowledge, logic, medicine, law, religion, all these are illiberal and too servile. Remember this is a textual quote, too servile and illiberal. So he's not satisfied. He finds them some kind of confining and he finds them not liberating but confining. So he needs to break away So he considers himself intellectually far superior. So because he thinks he has attained a lot more than what is available freely, and so now he wants to learn to practice magic. Magic, as understood, is not a very welcome thing in the society. So it's a prohibited knowledge. So now our Dr. Faustus is after this prohibited knowledge, right? So what does he do? So what is the way out? So how can he get what he wants in life? So this limits of human knowledge, how can he actually, that actually is levied by the conventional mean, how is he going to um, uh, transgress it? So the major thing that he can think of, or the means through which this kind of breaking of the shackles is possible according to Faustus is magic, right? So obviously he has some friends like Valdus and Cornelius who actually help him also in getting some kind of initiation into the field of magic. Now Faustus again is not satisfied. So he wants more, he wants power, he wants honor, he wants some kind of omnipotence, right? So what he wants is to become somebody who can control everything around. So magic is the only way. So for this, he is not also satisfied basic knowledge. So he has to enter into some kind of arrangement. So he signs an agreement with Lucifer, the devil, right? He signs an agreement with Lucifer, and he signs this agreement for 24 years. So what is the bargain? The bargain is 24 years of happy, carefree life of Faustus against the final damnation in hell. This is the pact. This is the agreement. Faustus enters with Lucifer through Lucifer's servant Mephistophilis, right? So Mephistophilis is supposed to travel with Faustus in all his explorations, in all his journeys, in all his transgressive looking for knowledge, and uh, finally Mephistopheles is supposed to be there with him till the end. So Faustus started enjoying the power of necromancy, and with the help of Mephistopheles, and he has, these moments of oscillations are fantastically portrayed in the play, where Faustus is in and out. Faustus is very troubled by his, Christian moral self, which actually time and again reminds him that he is actually on the path of devil, and that he is not going to be saved in any way at the end. He has those moments of uncertainty, but once he enters into pact, it becomes almost difficult for Dr. Faustus to come out of it, right? So the impending doom is there, impending doom or nemesis for the hubris of thinking that he is beyond the available knowledge. That hubris Faustus has, and he has to pay a price for it. And this is made very clear in the opening lines itself by Chorus. Chorus says, "Heavens conspired his overthrow for falling to a devilish exercise." Right? This is what Chorus comments. Heavens conspired his overthrow for falling to a devilish exercise. Okay. So Dr. Faustus, like I told you, he has his moments of oscillation. So he seems to always represent some kind of paradox. I told you, Renaissance period is besides with this kind of paradox, dichotomy of being here and there, being here but then wanting for something else. You have this, but you want something more. So Faustus also represents this paradox between between the two worlds of religion and that knowledge that is available in the classical also. So it is argued that the play is experientially affirms the heroic aspirations. I mean, the way he aspires, heroic aspirations of a Renaissance man. So I told you, I briefed you in the last class about Renaissance man, the tension between, on the one hand, of the moral and theological imperative as a Christian, within the fold of Christian orthodoxy, and on the other hand, an affirmation of Faustus as the epitome of Renaissance aspiration. So he has this Renaissance aspiration filled with that, and there is this conflict, there is this tension. So he is quintessential Renaissance man. Right? So with the power that is given to him through his pact with Lucifer, Faustus travels across the world. He actually performs a lot of small, big, um, um, magical acts. He also has the longing desire to see Helen, the great beauty of Greek, whom, the beautiful, the most remembered lines, one of the most remembered lines in English literature called, those topless towers of Ilium were burnt because of one beauty, that is Helen. Those beautiful lines are in this play itself. You're going to enjoy all those things. So obviously, so he enjoys, he travels, everything, but he has his moments of doubt. And then he shows his power as a magician to kings, to emperors, to publics. He conjures many things. He sees Helen. He enjoys life. Okay. So everything happens. So 24 years of his deal with Lucifer comes to close. Obviously, it has to come close, and when it is approaching close, Faustus begins to dread his impending death. So he is scared. He doesn't want it now. He has enjoyed, but he is worried about going to hell for damnation. He begs for mercy, but it is too late. So at midnight, a host of devils appear at the time when the time strikes 12. The last, those last scenes are so beautifully written by Christopher Marlowe, where he shows, time is striking, time is hitting, time is seconds, minutes, it is hitting. And then, Faustus is begging, the devils are surrounding him, and it's time to go, and Faustus has no way out. Right? At midnight, a host of devils appear and carry his soul off to the hell. Okay. Finally, the chorus which began the play also has to appear at the end and make comment on the hellish fall of Dr. Faustus. Right? So this is Dr. Faustus' play for you in a nutshell, and there are a lot of other elements that come in when we go in detail into the play. Like, there is this personified good and evil coming on stage, trying to persuade Dr. Faustus to join their side, and then the 7 deadly sins parading on the stage, coming and trying to pull Dr. Faustus back into the fold of necromancy and Lucifer. So all these beautiful things are there. So once we move into the text, we are going to read and enjoy these lines and enjoy the scenes and visualize and get into the mind of Marlowe and, more importantly, of Dr. Faustus. Okay, so now that we saw, that we heard, that we discussed in a brief about the plot of Dr. Faustus, there's one small element that I'd like to discuss with you in this class, that is about morality plays. Okay, we are discussing morality plays not because Dr. Faustus is a morality play. Dr. Faustus has a few elements of morality play inbuilt here, right? And that is what we are going to see. What are those elements of morality plays? When did the morality plays exist? And how has it influenced Marlowe's play? That is what I'm going to briefly tell you now. Morality plays were one of the different kinds of plays that existed during the Middle Ages, right? Along with morality plays, there were different kinds of plays like mystery plays, miracle plays, interludes, etc. right? So morality play is also one among the kind of plays that were that existed during the Middle Ages, that is before the Renaissance period. Interestingly, all these plays have or seep over into the Renaissance period as well. So they have some kind of influence, or they you know, some way or the other they creep in into the Renaissance plays as well. So it has happened in some kind of intermediary play that Dr. Faustus is. It has happened here as well. Right? I told you Faustus and Marlowe. You can situate it between, you know, some kind of the pre-Renaissance plays and the proper perfection of theatre that happened during the Elizabethan period. So this kind of some of the elements from morality and other plays comes into our play as well, that is Dr. Faustus. So now let's see, what are these morality plays. So morality plays were some kind of dramatized allegories on the life of man. So, you know, what they dealt with were some kind of temptation, how man had temptation and he did sin, and his quest for salvation and his confrontation with death. This was the major theme of morality plays. So can you, I mean, does it sound similar to you? Because that's what is happening in Dr. Faustus as well, right? Yes. So the hero represents some kind of mankind. You know, he is an everyman. He can exist anywhere. So he's a representative figure. And the other major thing that is a major characteristic of morality play is that there are this personification of virtues, vices, and death, and angels and demons, all these things who kind of figure in the play like major character, figure in the play like characters themselves, you know, flesh and body, like full. So they try to possess the soul of man, and the tussle, you know, the tension that the man has to go through are kind of you know, are the themes that are used in morality plays as well. So that comes in our play, The Tragical History of the Life and Death of Dr. Faustus as well, right? So the major element is in our play there are these virtues and vices, different virtues and vices coming in flesh, coming as you know, personified characters on stage. They come, they parade on the stage. Then there is this good and evil angels coming and trying to persuade Faustus to join their sides. And there are these 7 deadly sins that parade on the stage, you know, that create a gala scene, trying to pull Faustus back into the fold of necromancy and Lucifer, you know, the hell, the devilish fall. So all these things, you know, they come as characters on the stage, and they create, you know, the fantastic world of magic is created on the stage. So these are actually elements taken from morality plays, and it is there, you know, it's scattered profusely in our play Dr. Faustus as well. So this is small background for morality plays and how some of these elements have come into the Renaissance theatre as well, right? So that's all for now. Let us stop here, and in the next class we'll go and discuss carrying, you know, now we discussed how theatrical devices like, you know, this personification of characters and good and evil, all this come, these are all theatrical devices, right? So another theatrical devices that is more common is the usage of something called chorus, you know. In the next class we're going to discuss about what is chorus and what is the function of chorus, what is the role of chorus, and how it is significant even in a play called Dr. Faustus, right? So we'll stop here. Thank you.